Good evening. This is Lynn from Lynn's Corner, bringing you your inspirational and motivational tea. I come to you tonight. I named this video "The Abandoned Little Girl," and I think I've let you know that if I don't have anything significant to say, then I'm not. You see my incense in the background. If I don't have anything significant to say, I'm not just going to be doing videos to be doing videos. But I'm also always going to do a video that I think will help somebody. Or that I think somebody will be able to relate to. Or that will help free somebody from something. I'll start with what occurred with me, and we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk. I'm gonna talk. You're gonna be talking to your screen. This morning I sent my oldest son a text, and I said, so and so, insert name, is acting funny. Seems like they've switched up. I know I didn't do anything. I'm not going to worry about it. And I left it at that. He sent me a text back, said, "Mom, it's not you. Go on with your day. Go on with your program. How you plan for things to be today?" Okay. First of all, I had a few things working this morning. I sent that text to my son, right? So, in addition to that text from my son, I made some protection oil. Probably about in January. Various herbs, oils, all that in it. Had it sitting from January to now, to June. So that's about 5 months. They say, a few weeks, maybe 8 weeks, it should be good to use. Now, with this protection oil, first of all, it's very important as spiritual people to keep yourself protected. Whether you take spiritual baths, whether you take spiritual showers, whether you keep your head covered throughout the day, head covered at night. That's something I started doing. I keep a white cloth on my head when I sleep. Keeps negative things from trying to get at you in your sleep. But it is important as spiritual people that you keep yourself, and I'm not talking about religious people, I'm talking about spiritual people. It's important that you keep yourself protected at all times, and don't just take for granted that you're good. I'm covered, I'm protected. No, you have to specifically and deliberately do things to make sure that you are protected in the spirit realm, in addition to your prayers. So I had my oil sitting in a place that I knew it sat for 5 months. But in sitting, they always say the longer that it sits, this is the first protection oil I ever made. Well, no, it's the second. The first one I made, it almost seemed like it was doing the reverse, but I didn't have the knowledge that I have now, or had when I was making this oil. So the longer you let it sit, the stronger it'll be. I got some of that protection oil on my way out the door. I finally opened it up. I shook it up first. Opened it up. I have a crystal on top of the container, so it's the oil in a mason, small, short mason jar, crystal on top. I took the crystal off, opened it up, and put the protection oil right here. You know what this is, right? Third eye. Didn't even think anything about where I was putting the protection oil. Didn't think anything of it at all. And I left out of the house. I was taking my son to school, but we stopped at the store. Well, on my way to the store, I was asking myself in my mind, I always have conversations with myself. They say the highly intelligent you are, the more conversations you have with yourself. But I was asking myself, why is it that when people switch up on you, I asked myself, why is it that when people switch up on me, why do I like take it so hard, like deeply, and it doesn't even have to be somebody that is really near and dear, but the people that are near and dear, yeah, when they switch up on me, I just have a very hard time. And I've always known throughout the years that the switch up that people do is something that I cannot handle. Everybody has their deal breakers. Oh, I can't handle this. I can't handle liars. I can't handle, whatever. One thing that I always knew I couldn't handle was people that did the switch up. We cool one day, we not the next. The stuff you go through in middle school with the girls, if anybody has experienced that, one day we friends, you get to school and everybody's not speaking to you. Apparently there was a conversation had about you the night before after the last time you saw the group. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, unless you're the leader of that group, then you don't know what I'm talking about. But and I was asking myself that as I was driving to this store. I got the download immediately. For the first time in my 54 years, you can't handle the switch up because it feels like rejection. And you can't handle rejection because it feels like abandonment. And you can't handle the abandonment because your mother used to switch up on you all the time when you were little. What? Now, I always knew that I could always say that I had abandonment issues, but it always baffled me why I would say I had abandonment issues when I had two parents in the home. Right? So I wasn't one of those people whose, mama left them, when they were young, or dad was a single dad and mama was a deadbeat mama. She ain't hardly come. Wasn't that at all. My mother was actually, my parents were together, still together, been together for over 60 something years. So I grew up in a home with two parents. However, it all comes full circle as to why I can't handle the switch up. My mother was emotionally unavailable. Not only was she emotionally unavailable, right? She would switch her moods. And she was extremely judgmental. So you have the judgmental, which then triggers rejection. Mind you, all of this is just coming to, I knew that I did not, I knew coming up. Now, my mother and I are fine now, so I'm not bashing her in any way, but I'm telling my truth so that maybe I can free somebody. But I knew that I had a poor relationship with my mother, my whole, from 6 years old to about 40 something. We'll say that. And I knew that she was being judgmental and harsh, and she's a staunch Christian. I knew all that, but I could not verbalize the way it was verbalized to me this morning, that you can't handle the switch up because you grew up with the switch up. How about that? You can't handle the abandonment because you grew up with the abandonment. And no, it wasn't physical abandonment, but it was emotional abandonment. So when people switch up on you, you feel like they are abandoning you. It triggers that childhood wound. Hence the title of my video, The Abandoned Little Girl. How many of you women are walking around being the abandoned little girl? How many women are walking around being the abandoned little girl, being the little girl who was quote unquote rejected, so you can't take rejection? How many of you have this unhealthy attachment to emotionally unavailable partners? How many? And how many of you that have the attachment to the emotionally unavailable fathers, the emotionally unavailable partners, had a parent that was emotionally unavailable? And it was definitely my father was completely emotionally available. Strange thing though, as emotionally available as the man was in my house, I still was drawn to emotionally unavailable men. I still wanted the acceptance of the emotionally unavailable men. So what I found myself doing is, it wasn't really loyalty at all. This is what I'm talking about. I said, okay, how many of you had unhealthy loyalty to these people, partners, whatever you are, whether it's gay, straight, whatever your partner was, how many have an unhealthy loyalty to these people? My thing is this: is it really an unhealthy loyalty, or is it a trauma bond? Because today, when I was driving in that car, I was talking to my youngest son in the car. I was telling him, as the downloads were happening, I was talking to him. When I really thought about it, all of these people, I got something else to tell you too. All of these people that I had an unhealthy loyalty and attachment to, they also had been emotionally abandoned. So it was the attachment to their wound that I had, more so than the attachment to who they were. Let me tell you what happened since the pandemic. So that's taking me to another point. When the pandemic first started in 2020, that's when I really started doing a whole lot of doing an enormous amount of healing and shadow work, and going back to the little girl, little Lynn, and healing her. And so in that process, I'm going to say from 2020 until now, people that I considered major people in my life, just had major roles in my life, they rolled out. Now, I had never had that happen before, ever. Now, one thing we do know is, as you heal, people are going to be removed out of your life. We know that, right? I had never had that happen before in my 50 plus years. Never had people roll out like that, like they didn't pass away, you know. A love interest who was inconsistent, always was inconsistent, but they really made a major move that didn't include me. I'll say that. A girlfriend that she and I were just soul sisters, and we talked every day, and we were so close. And I mean, you could not have told me that me and that girl were not going to continue on as sisters for the duration. But let me tell you what, she rolled out, said she, for her own little reasons, said it had nothing to do with me, but she felt like she shared too much of her personal business, and so she's shutting down what she shares with me. Whatever what that has to do with being a friend, whatever. That happened with that. I tried to hold on to that, but then I let it go. I just let it go. I just said, God bless. And let that go, right? Another girlfriend rolled out. And then another male friend I had. And see, so people can abandon you in various ways. You can feel an emotional abandonment before you feel a physical one, if you grew up like I did. If you grew up with a parent that was emotionally unavailable, you feel the emotional one before you feel the physical one. You know when things are different. You're hyper aware of moods and behaviors and things like that. So I just gave you an example of about 4 people that rolled out that I felt was really, oh, we're so close, I can relate to them, I get them, they get me, we get each other, I feel like I've known them. Each one of those people, oh, I just felt like I just knew that I had known them all my life. And you know why? Because I did know them all my life. I knew that wound all my life. That wound that they carried, I knew it all my life. That's what we were related to. We could relate like that because we had the same type of, not upbringing, but the same type of emotional upbringing. The same lack of emotional care and unconditional love. Some people don't believe in unconditional love, but you know what I'm talking about. So yeah, I did know those people all my life. They did feel like home. Because they were home. Home of the place where my wounds resided. But the universe, God, spirit, source, whatever you want to call the higher being, kept pulling those people away until I could see. Kept triggering me until I could see the area that I needed to heal. And it was the area of abandonment and the area of rejection. And to understand where it came from so I could deal with that. Deal with the little girl. Deal with the abandoned little girl. All that came to me today. All of it. Even the name of this video, The Abandoned Little Girl. It all came to me. Clear as day. Those were not attachments. Those were trauma bonds that you have with those people. Did I love those people? Oh yeah, definitely love those people. And I was wondering why lately I was starting to feel more okay with those people being gone than I had normally felt before. You know what I mean? And even with the last person that I was talking to my son about this morning when I said so-and-so's acting different, it seemed like they're changing, even in that, it bothered me, but I wasn't torn up about it because I used to be torn up about it. So what am I saying? Why did I even make this video? Because somebody out there has a wound. They have a mother wound. They have an abandonment wound. They have a rejection wound. Right? And they don't know that's what it is. They don't really know specifically that it's stemming from the fact that you were emotionally shut down. You were emotionally rejected as a little girl or a little boy. Just think back. Some of us can come up with the scenarios of what happened as we were growing up, but we never ever put a name to what it was or what it is. But when you start putting that name to what it is, then it allows you to be able to heal. And that's the whole point. You got to heal the little girl. And that's the thing about shadow work, or the little boy. That's the thing about shadow work. The shadow work deals with the shadows and the things that you don't want to see or you're not ready to deal with. Right? Things about yourself. One of the things about myself was I had this almost psychotic loyalty to people. Just always trying to, oh, it's okay. Well, you're doing that because of this, and you're acting this way because of that, and blah, 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 blah. No. You don't want to be rejected. So you're overly understanding, overly accepting, overly loving, overly sexual, overly. Address that wound, heal that wound, acknowledge that wound, acknowledge what you've been doing, acknowledge the fact that the people that you've been excessively bonded to, excessively loyal to, some of those people may actually not be a good vibrational match for you at this point in your healing. Maybe they were before, because I know for me, for sure, that's why I said those people felt like home. They felt like home. Felt like I knew you. I said that because at that time we were vibrating on the same frequency. But once I started working on myself and healing myself, but I still wanted to attach myself to that. Still wanted to attach myself to those people. And I can't say that all of them were low vibrational, but I will say we were vibrating on the same frequency. I'm not saying it was low, but we were vibrating on the same frequency. But once you heal, things start changing in your mind. Emotionally, you start feeling different. You start feeling different about yourself. You start loving yourself a little bit more, and then a little bit more each day, and a little bit more and a little bit more. You're praying, meditating, spending time with yourself, not chasing people. We're not chasing men, not chasing friendships, not chasing women, not chasing anything emotional. So you can soothe yourself. It's a lot of, and sometimes even though people might not be physically chasing people, they emotionally chase. On the inside, you're chasing. That's the kind of person I was. I'm not calling him. No. Right. I'm saying I'm not calling him, but I am obsessing all day and evening and night, waiting and checking my phone. Did he go? Did he go? Did he go? That's emotional chasing. Emotional chasing. And all of that has to do with low self-esteem, low self-worth. So, I know I touched on, I kind of went from A to Z to B to E, all of that. But my bottom line is this. Make sure that these quote-unquote vibrational matches that you have aren't just trauma bonds. Look at the similarities that you have with these people. And what areas are you similar? Right? Take a look at the triggers of abandonment, the triggers, and not to say, let's get this straight too. We can take a look at the triggers of abandonment and the triggers of rejection. Not to say you're not going to feel some kind of way when somebody switches up on you. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm going to tell you what, you can see something for what it is, turn around and march yourself on somewhere else. You ain't got to wallow in stuff. You ain't got to sit there and, I wonder what happened. And every day, I wonder what happened. What if I did? And if I'd have said this, would it still be like that? If I'd have acted this way, would we still be? All that, that's that. Still trying to contort yourself and fix yourself to appease and please somebody else so you don't have to feel the sting of rejection. So you don't have to feel the sting of abandonment. We're going to get out of that. We're going to stop doing that. And just because you're spiritual don't mean you don't still do some of these things. Spiritual does not mean perfect. Having a relationship with the universe does not mean you're perfect, because we are always, or should be, forever healing. We should be healing. We should be working on ourselves. We should be acknowledging some things. And we always, always, always need to celebrate ourselves for growth. That's something we forget to do. Sometimes we get on this spiritual journey and spend so much of our time one track mind. I gotta heal, I gotta heal, I gotta heal, I gotta heal. We don't take time to enjoy ourselves at all. And we don't take time enough to celebrate ourselves. So even though I'm saying all of this, I'm celebrating myself today because I got the downloads and I understand where those triggers came from. Now that I know it's a trigger and what the trigger stems from, I can acknowledge that thing and move on. You don't have to carry that thing on your back. You see what it is, you know where it's coming from. Exit stage left. Don't wallow in that. And when you feel your mind keep just going over and over and playing the movie over and over and over again in your head, you got to hit stop in your mind. Stop. Not stop and rewind. Not that. Stop. Turn that movie off. Find another movie to watch that's more suitable for you and your growth. Movie in your mind. Always feed yourself positive. Always put yourself in a position to learn, and always make sure you're accountable for your part, for what you do in the situations that you kind of find yourself in. Okay? So I just wanted to share that with you. I know it was kind of all over the place, but I hope I said some things that would help somebody. I hope you understand about the abandonment and the rejection, because those things, they're different things, but they almost go hand in hand. Because if somebody abandons you, you feel rejected. And when somebody rejects you, you feel emotionally abandoned. So those two things go hand in hand. If you have an issue with that, acknowledge that. Heal the little abandoned, rejected girl. Heal the little abandoned, rejected little boy. You'll feel all the more better. I've been healing, and like I said, it's ongoing. So now what's going to happen is the universe is going to take me to my next thing I need to work on healing. Because I get it now. You see what I'm saying? I get it now. And another thing too, let me say this. It almost is actually not rejection. It's a person dealing with their own traumas. That don't have nothing to do with you. And since it doesn't have anything to do with you, you can turn around and go ahead on and move on and go ahead on about your business. It has nothing to do with you. Mind your business. Mind your business. Okay, so the abandoned little girl, the abandoned little boy, heal him or her so you can move on, you can grow, you can love freely, love yourself freely. Do that shadow work so you can move on to your next major healing point, whatever that may be. Shadows are things that you really can't see, haven't acknowledged, but the universe will show you. I hope this helps somebody, and have an awesome, awesome evening. See you soon.